There's
All right.
Kathleen.
So hello and welcome. Gaston, I'm going to make you co-host so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
actually, you know what? I'll make you both co-host. Give me just a second. I want to make sure that I've got, and I can't do that from here. Okay. So I'm just going to bring up the slide deck. Oh, our host is here. I'm going to bring up the slide deck real quick anyway, since I'm already here. All right. Or not. There we go. Welcome to the Masterclass by Master Coaches Summit. Um, Coming up this week, today we've got Zofia is going to be doing a lovely coaching demo. Tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m., Jaya will be here for another coaching demo. So you're going to get a couple of demos from Master Coaches. Be ready to volunteer to be coached. Also at noon will be Des Stevens talking about coaching through a DEIB lens. And the summit wraps up on Friday with another coaching demo from Marsha Reynolds. Most importantly, we've got Marianna here today. Thank you, Marianna. She is a master certified coach and an ICF credentialing assessor since 2008. She's the founder and executive director of Goal Imagery Coaching Academy, founder and executive director of a globally recognized
You don't
provider
have to
of
read
ICF
all of this. You don't have
career
to
and
read all.
executive coach training programs, and taught in 6 languages worldwide. But you know, who's counting? So amazing stuff.
You don't have to read all of this, please. It's okay. We don't have to
All
spend
right.
time on this.
You know what, Marianna, you are probably more qualified to introduce yourself and what you're going to be doing today than I am. So I am going to stop sharing my screen as soon as I can figure out where stop share is and let you take it away.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. I do have a PowerPoint for you guys, but I was told that you prefer if I don't share PowerPoint and cover myself. So we can play it by ear, and I can share a PowerPoint, and then if you get bored with it, I can just stop. All right. So today is an exciting topic for me, which is a no niche, no problem, the holistic approach to coaching. When I get angry, it moves me to good things. And actually, this whole conversation about you have to have a niche, you have to have a niche from every single marketer on the planet got me angry enough to write a book. I wrote a book, and the book is about a holistic approach and about personal branding, and it's behind my back, me, my brand, and why. And I wanted to share with you why I was getting so annoyed at this whole concept, and that you don't have to pick a niche if you don't have it or if you don't want to have it. Those of you who have a niche, more power to you. It's great. It's amazing, right? But if you don't have to feel that your life is over until you find one, right? So I am going to share my slides, and then you let me know if you want me to stop it. So I am going to put a slideshow on. But I don't know if you can actually see can you see my screen? You can't see my screen yet, right?
No,
Let me share my screen.
Not yet.
we cannot see yet.
I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to then put it into slideshow. Play from the start. Here we go. We're in business. So this is like a really short description of what I represent, who I am. And so from experience, not only my own experience as a coach, but also as an experience assessing hundreds and hundreds of applicants' recordings and their coaching sessions at every single level, ACC, PCC, and MCC. and my students, right? I mean, I own a Goal Imagery Coaching Academy, which is an international coach training school. So through all of those experiences, I understand that people are not focusing on one niche, even if you attract them by a specific niche first. But let's get to what are we going to cover today. We're going to discover the holistic qualities of the ICF core competencies, just so that you see where I'm coming from. It's not just my, free imagination. There's definitely the foundation that we're all learning how to coach in the best possible way. And the foundation really does speak to the holistic approach. And then also how to elevate your coaching using powerful holistic techniques. What are those techniques that speak to us beyond any niching? And then using branding versus niching to propel your coaching career. Is there a difference? Is it the same? Because I know that a lot of people think of niching as something that's going to propel their business, their coaching business, to stand out. So they're using it kind of to replace the branding idea. And we're going to look at that. So your clients come to you for whatever specific issue that, if you do have a niche that you advertise yourself for, at, or however it happens, right? They just come to you with a specific thing that they want to resolve. Well, they resolve it, and then what? What do you do? Then the client goes to someplace else because that's the only niche that you can offer. Well, they're done talking about. Well, let's say they're talking about a specific life issue, like improving their relationship. Well, they got into a fight. You took them through it, or through divorce, or whatever. They're okay now, or fitness coaching, or whatever other coaching. And then what happens? You have nothing else to offer. So if they bring any other topic, you are forced to refer them outside. Referring clients outside of your business clearly is not the smartest decision, business-wise, but also relationship-wise, because it doesn't build a stronger relationship when you say, I can't talk about this. I don't feel comfortable talking about this. And I cannot tell you how much business I have had through referrals, especially coming from executive coaches who felt uncomfortable talking about personal issues that their clients were bringing. Tons. And so I don't think that we want to be in that space. Like, I don't think that this is what we are desiring for our coaching businesses. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do when your clients want to talk about something else? Because not only that, they may want to talk about other topics when you are done talking about a topic, a niche. They may bring something right in the middle of whatever you're talking with them, because life happens. Let's say you're coaching them on career advancement, and then their dog gets sick. Well, they're going to come in and they're going to talk about their dog. And so what are you going to do? You're just going to listen? Well, listening is great. It's an amazing tool. But I think clients expect a little bit more than for you to just be quiet for 30, 40 minutes, right? You have to feel comfortable enough to respond and to assist your client through whatever issue that is coming up for them. So in that sense, right away, I'm looking at holistic approach because I am looking at the client. I'm servicing the client versus the client's issue, right? As a matter of fact, when people ask me, what is my niche? I just tell them, you are my niche. Whatever you represent, you are my niche. What is it that you're looking for? And that's going to be my niche, because my coaching approach is client-oriented, client focus. Now, here's a familiar sight for all of you, right? Core competencies. We all know that, we all seen it many, many times. Well, I'm going to ask you, how is it possible? Let's go backwards. How is it possible to actually, let's just start from the last one. How is it possible to assist in any client growth if you don't create any awareness? How is it possible to create any awareness if you don't listen? How is it possible to listen if you don't create trust and safety? There's going to be zero to listen to, because your client is not going to share anything with you in an honest and open way. So it's going to be meaningless. And this is just about creating a contract clearly until you agree that this is a professional coaching relationship. None of the other happens at all. So just by looking at it like this, you see how every single competency depends on the other and how they connect. It's a very tightly closed knitting system here. You can't pull them apart. And as a matter of fact, at my school, when I teach, we teach it from that perspective, because I feel that to teach them completely separately is artificially pulling them apart. So even though we can identify them separately, but we have to identify them by looking at the whole coaching session. And as an assessor, when I'm listening to the recordings, I can't tell you how many times the same mistake is going to parallel itself across many, many competencies, not just one. Because again, if the coach doesn't listen, it's going to impact awareness and the client's growth. If the trust and presence aren't established, it's going to snowball. Everything has a snowball effect. Everything has a snowball effect. So with that in mind, niching becomes really questionable. So what do I preach? Sort of to say is holistically accepting yourself, right? It's holistically accepting yourself. What does it really mean? It means being fully present and flexible with client, dancing in the moment. All of these are either quotes or paraphrasing directly from ICF, right? I didn't even come up with it. I just kind of found it, and it created the core of my practice. Being curious, trusting your gut, experimenting, using humor. Coach is confident in self, process, and the client as a full partner in the relationship. I think this is one of my favorite statements. So there's this triangle: self, process, and the client. Even that in itself is holistic, because unless you trust in yourself, you can't even really trust that you're going to learn anything. But if you don't know the process, you can't really trust yourself, because you don't know how you're going to coach. But then you also have to trust the client to come up with their own answers. So if any one of these aspects is not fully available to you, then your coaching is not going to be masterful. It's just not even going to be good, right? So right here, we're looking at the key areas of what coaching really means. And none of it has to do with niching. And another thing is, you all know that ICF doesn't have niching in their certification. Their certification process is specific to core competencies. They will not even ask you in your application what kind of coaching you're doing. They don't care. In my classes, I don't care either, because we teach conceptually so that you could coach flexibly in any niche. It doesn't make a difference. And then you also have to holistically accept your client. Again, from ICF, what does it mean, holistically accepting your client? Holding the client in unconditional positive regard. I mean, we can talk for a long time about every single one of these phrases, right? Every one of these phrases is like a pearls of wisdom. The connection is to the whole of who the client is, how the client learns, what the client has to teach the coach. Again, connection to the whole, very holistic. The coach hears the totality, again, a whole picture, complete picture of the client's greatness and gifts, as well as limiting beliefs and patterns. A good coach is capable of listening, hearing, and responding to all of it. The coach's listening is cumulative from session to session and throughout each individual session. So if your client mentions something, whether in the previous sessions or this current session, and then it comes up later, you don't pretend that it didn't happen. I can tell you how many sessions I'm listening to, especially in my classes. And I have a very strange memory. I remember sessions better than I remember what I had for breakfast. I really do. And so I would listen to a student coaching someone, and I'm wondering to myself, didn't we do very similar session for the same student like 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago? But the coach/student goes on pretending as if it's the first time session. So clearly something happened. So either the action steps didn't work as planned, or maybe they weren't taken at all, or the coaching session wasn't as useful as they claimed it to be, because at the end of that last session, the client seemed to be happy. Everything seemed to be resolved. There was an agreement on specific action steps. So have a natural curiosity as to ask your client, so what happened? I remember this and this and that. And now I hear that we're talking about similar topics. And I'm curious, what's the difference between today's topic and the topic that we discussed whenever before? So this is just one example, how it's really important to pay attention to the client versus niching and their narrow issue that they bring, right? Because something happened to them or with them within their environment that they haven't shared. I don't know, for whatever reason. Right? So what are the core holistic coaching skills? Well, I mean, this is, by the way, all of these things are taken from the MCC understanding by ICF, what coaching means. And this is how we also, and I personally, this is how we teach from the perspective of mastery, even if it's the very first level 1 course. Because it's really important to have that understanding, to know what you're moving towards, to understand the most effective techniques from the very beginning and start building them correctly. So the coach has a broad language base to use and play with, and he uses the client's language to broaden that base. So broad language, again, sounds like holistic to me. It sounds like comprehensive, doesn't it? So in my understanding, broad language would include, or rather includes, being able to address your client's intellect, your client's emotions, your client's mind-body wellness, right? And that would in turn include positive psychology, neuroscience, system theories, adult learning theories, emotional intelligence, and on and on and on and on, right? That's broad, that's a broad language. And having said that, I don't want to use complicated words. I don't want to use any jargon when I'm coaching. I want to use the language that the client is going to be able to relate in the best possible way. And so clearly, that's my client's language. Which again brings me to the point that the idea of niching is really outdated at best. Why? Because no matter what niche the client comes into me, I'm going to use their language. Clearly, if I'm speaking with an executive for the very first time, I'm not going to use language that utilizes words like feeling. How do you feel? Right? I'm going to start asking, what are your thoughts? And I'm going to be using their language. And then when I understand the client better, maybe I will be talking about feelings and all of that stuff, all of that wonderful stuff, right? Depending how relationship progresses and depending what I'm going to learn about their language, about them as a person, right? But at first, I'm going to start with an idea that's appropriate to executive language industry, right? So this is just an example. And clearly, if I'm doing spiritual coaching, my language is going to be very different, and I'm going to be listening to the client's language to understand what is their language. Because we don't want to go on any kind of assumption either, right? The same thing for metaphors. So we all know that the best metaphor is the client's metaphor, not your own, no matter how beautiful it could be. Even though at times it could create a really great awareness. So, and then the second bullet point is going beyond the immediate goal. So at an MCC level, we always talk about broadening everything, broadening your client's horizon to relate what's happening now within this specific issue to how you are, who you are in life, in your career, how it's possibly impacting you now and will be impacting you in the future if you start behaving a little bit differently, if you start thinking a little bit differently. That's conceptually an MCC level of thinking, right? And so that's going beyond the immediate goal. So going beyond the immediate any niche. That's why I say that this is the future. This is the future. The future is not going to have any niche. And engaging in exploration for discovery, for perspective, for learning, and for growth with your client. Now, here's the question. Do you market your niche or personal branding? Oops, I didn't want to do that. I want to go back. Yeah, well, I want to go back. How do I go back? Yeah, okay. I don't know how to go back. Do I go to delete? Should I delete? No. Yes. So you know what I would love to do? I would love for you guys to do the breakout room rooms or room. I don't know how many people we have today. And really talk about that. Do you market your niche or do you market your personal brand? And again, I did it again. Here we go. So do you market your niche or your personal brand? Is it the same concept for you, or are those two different concepts? And if they're different, how different are they?
Okay, we are going to do the breakup rooms. I'm going to
Mhm.
sign immediately.
Maybe 5 minutes, not too long.
So hi, Charlene. Marianna, you are on mute.
Yes, I saw the announcement on my screen. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, I was also in a breakout room, and I saw and I understood that maybe. So I guess the question is, how do we view ourselves? Do we view ourselves through our niche or through our branding? Do we relate to, how do we, like, what I mean is this. If my niche is career coaching, do I call myself a career coach? Or do I represent myself in different ways, depending on how I position myself in terms of my brand? Right? So if I'm doing fitness coaching, do I say I'm a fitness coach, which kind of identifies me as a whole? Or do I represent myself in different ways? And I guess that was the main question that I would like for you to think about. But even the question that I asked, I think, creates a little bit of division and clarity between niching and branding. And sometimes we don't even think about it, right? You know, like we finish whatever school that we finish, and then we think about how am I going to get clients, right? And that's it. And then well, how do you get clients? You have to offer something specific, because otherwise, if you just say I'm a coach, it's meaningless, right? Oh, hi, Jennifer. Look at that. One of my
My
alumni,
breakout room. I'm like, that's my teacher. How are you? It's been a few
Great,
years.
thanks. I'm glad to be here. So
Yeah.
yeah, Jennifer knows the whole spiel, right? You know, right now. And so I think that it's important to even create that differentiation in your mind. Am I throwing myself into some kind of a unspoken cage and limiting myself by saying I am it? Is a niche something that I'm using as a tool to attract people to a specific workshop, to a specific maybe group coaching, to a specific coaching that I offer now? Or am I identifying with that niche to the point that it's all my brand and people just know me as a career coach? And that's all they think about when they think about me. They think about me being able to help with their careers, period, or a fitness coach, or a spiritual coach, or whatever other coach, right? And nowadays, I think that there are as many niches and there are topic in human life, like literally unlimited number of all of these sub niches, right? And actually marketers will even tell you that the more specific you are, the less competition you have, and it is better. But then doesn't it also narrow your opportunities at the same time? And of course, we can be, it's not necessarily a bad thing to be very narrow, right? But it's more about how do you want to feel, and how do you feel when you define yourself through your niche? Like for me, it got me angry. Like I said, got me angry now, because I always felt that it was a limitation that had been imposed on me. Like I always felt a weight loss coach. No, I can do it. I've done it. You know, before I was doing coaching, I was doing hypnosis for many years. So I was very, very flexible and knowledgeable. And for me, it's not a big deal. Stress management, weight loss, smoking cessation, all of those things are like a backbone of any hypnosis business. So that was like coming naturally for me. Other things I was like learning, but to call myself a weight loss coach, I would always think, well, yes, I can do it, but I'm so much more than just that. Stress management, yeah, okay, but I'm so much more than that. Right? Because any niche kind of like, well, too narrow. Because when I'm thinking, like for instance, stress management, the first thing I'm going to ask, what's causing stress? Because it's never stress management in itself. It's something that's causing it. And so that could lead to relationship coaching or any other career coaching or any other kind of coaching. And I can say pretty much the same for most of things that people bring, because as we all know, once we start experiencing and actually doing coaching, you know that most of the time people need not what they think that they need. Like how many times you start coaching the client and they think that they know what they want, and then as you start digging deeper and coaching them, something else completely seemingly maybe in even unrelated, right, comes up, and then you start coaching them on that issue. But it only can happen if you're flexible enough. If you are giving yourself permission not to be tied up to your one little whatever corner of the business. Yes. And so, yeah, why don't we open it up for a little bit, maybe questions, conversation, and then I'll go back to the PowerPoint. Let's just have some interactive communication. So if anyone has questions, I know that I was in a breakout room and there was some question and we got cut off, for instance. And let me look at
Yeah, that was me, Arturo.
Yes, perfect.
So my question was just to get your thoughts about this. So that I love what you're saying. And it's interesting in the coaching industry, though, there's a lot of marketing for coach certifications that are super niched. We get bombarded with the emails, don't we, every day of this type of coaching, that type of coaching, this certification, this, that. So it's on one, I like what you're saying is we open up opportunities, but yet the coaching world likes to also sometimes be very fragmented in niches. It's kind of, I'm seeing that trend a lot. I'm sure everybody is. So I guess my question is, what are your thoughts about that? And because I like what you're saying, but I get those emails every day from everybody trying to sell me some kind of niche coaching certification.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the way that I personally dealt with it, I opened up my own coach training school. Back in 2005, and in 2008, we became official in terms of all of the certifications from ICF, accredited and all of that. So what I did, I literally created training that includes all popular niches and all popular approaches. How I did it, that's another story. But the point is, I think that our industry, coaching industry, became extremely fractionalized, niched, in terms of education, as you say. But if you look at any other profession, you're not going to see that. So if you look at medical profession, first you become a general doctor, and then you choose your specialty. If you look at accounting, same thing. If you look at HR, same thing. And on and on and on and on. And so I never kind of understood the reason to just look at one thing first, kind of forcing people to choose a niche before they even knew what coaching really was. It's like they have a pool, they know they want to study coaching, but they may not exactly know what it is. They may not have ever experienced it, or definitely didn't coach someone else, and they have to choose a niche. And those who have done some schooling, and have done, were forced to pick a niche, then now are in this dilemma because there's so much more that's offered, and then you always kind of pulled in 100 different directions. Because I want to learn all of it. And so those emails, as you're mentioning, positive psychology, I want to learn that. It's amazing. It's exciting. Neuroscience, of course, I want to learn that too. EQ, yes. and so on and so forth. And so what do you end up with? You end up with taking all of these different certifications, becoming kind of learning junkie, which is nothing wrong with that, I guess. But then the problem is that you're learning things not conceptually. You're still not learning conceptually because you can't compare things and you can't see how they work together. How do these things help each other? And when you're going to use one versus the other, because the conversation in each training is going to be strictly appointed to whatever, again, niche that you are enrolled in. And I didn't think it was useful. And so my way was creating something that no one had back then, and no one still has, actually. Because nowadays, now we do have a few schools that offer more than just one niche, but none of them offer all of it. And no one can catch up to me at this point, because I've been doing it since the beginning, right? And so I think that it's important for us to learn these things. And I have to say that for a lot of things, you may not need an actual coach training. Right? So if you want to learn how to apply positive psychology, if you want to learn how to apply neuroscience, if you want to learn how to apply EQ, buy a few books. Like, you don't have to, yeah, of course we have courses. You can enroll in our course and everything is going to be kind of done for you. Yeah. But you can also just literally go to Google, go to Amazon, just learn. And all you have to do is to apply all of this knowledge to what you already know, which is your core competencies. You already have the skills. You just have to broaden your mind and understand that those skills could utilize many other things and approaches simply with client's permission. So for instance, if I want to use an NLP technique, neuro-linguistic programming technique, right? Why I like that? Because they're very quick, but what would I do? I would literally ask my client a permission to do an exercise. And it doesn't have to be NLP. It could be positive psychology, it could be anything else. Because as long as you have to provide any kind of instructions, you're going to want to ask for permission. And how do you offer it? You simply say, well, I have this cool exercise that I feel is going to be useful for whatever it is that you're talking with. Would you like to play, right? And who is going to say no? They're going to say yes. And then you can go into instructions. Like, literally read from the book if you have to. Yeah. And then when you're done, say, well, so what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about your issue? And these type of questions are coaching questions, and you bring them back into coaching. So there are different ways of kind of learning and applying other things. And in terms of coaching people in other niches, it's like, read about that. Like, if you want to, like, let's say if you never worked in corporations, if you're strictly a life coach and you really want to learn that other side of things, well, just Google leadership, Google executive thinking, Google anything like that. And then you'll come up with so much information and the appropriate language for that industry. And that's how you learn. That's exactly how you learn. And then you can apply that to what you already know, which are core competencies. You already have the knowledge. You already have the tools.
Maria, sorry to interrupt. We have another question from Charlene. Someone said that the term life coach has started having a negative tone due to how it is being portrayed for business practice. So how will you then avoid marketing yourself in this generalized way while not niching?
Well, honestly, I don't niche myself at all. I just say I'm an MCC coach. And if they need explanation of what it is, I can provide that explanation. My branding is different from being an MCC coach, clearly, because personal branding is personal to you, meaning there's no one else like that. So personal branding is what's going to stand you apart from everyone else, not your niche. Your niche is a marketing tool that you could use if you want to, but it's not your personal brand. When we talk about snowflakes and how different each snowflake, that's personal branding. So guys, you can go to my LinkedIn. Go to my LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn. Please connect with me and see how do I use what is my personal brand?
Can I ask something?
Yes, sure.
I'm sure that whenever you answer to someone asking you, what do you do? And you say, I am an MCC coach. I think it happened to you that people say, what is that?
Exactly.
What is your second answer, if I can ask?
Yes, absolutely. I'm as a certified coach by International Coaching Federation. That's it. Right. And then if they want to know more, there's always more to know about ICF and then more about me. And then we start a conversation. And then I'm going to ask them, I'm curious, why are you asking? And then before you know, they're going to be telling me about themselves. And that's what I want to know. Because depending on what they tell me about themselves, I'm going to be able to sell whatever I want to sell them. And we're not talking about manipulation, we're really talking about good listening skills. Because if you ask any good salesperson, they're going to tell you that the most important thing in sales in general is our favorite competency. It's active listening. It's not actively talking or explaining. Honestly, no one cares. No one cares, right? But people will be drawn to your personal brand. If you describe yourself in a way that it creates synergy, they're going to want to look more about you. They want to know more, and maybe they'll start following your post. Maybe they'll connect with you, and then maybe finally they'll meet up with you and then hire you as a coach, which happens to me a lot, actually. So saying MCC coach is not a niche, clearly. It's just one of the identifiers, but it's a cool one. So if I would have been an ACC coach, I wouldn't be saying I'm an ACC coach, but I would have said I'm a certified coach by International Coaching Federation. And if I don't have a lot of experience, I'd be talking about ICF because that's my affiliation, and that's impressive. But more importantly, again, is not to talk at all, but to listen. And so life coaching, just to give even more detailed response to Charlene, life coaching is looked down upon because a lot of life coaches have zero training, have zero experience. And a lot of housewives call themselves life coach, and some of them don't even have high school diploma. So, I will always say, and I have said, and Jennifer knows, that coaching certification, even from the best school possible, and even ICF credential, is not going to create clients for you. People are going to look at all of it. People are going to look at everything that you represent. They are going to look at your education, how you dress. Yes, I'm sorry. How you speak. They're going to look at your background, and they're going to look at your ICF certification and school and everything else. And so when they get the full picture of who you are, again, speaking about holistically, you view your clients holistically, they look at you at the whole picture too. They don't look just at a little certificate that takes a year to gain, maybe less for some, and say, yes, this is it. And I'm going to hire you because you call yourself executive coach versus someone who calls themselves life coach. And as a matter of fact, I've seen quite a lot that people call themselves life and executive coach. And they have no problem with that. So a lot of it actually depends on how you view yourself also. Because if you're confident in how you represent yourself and what you say about yourself, that energy, your confidence is going to be picked up by whoever you are speaking with. I just actually wrote a post on LinkedIn yesterday about believe in yourself and believe in your business. Because if you don't, why would anyone else? No one would, right? So first, the first person to convince about your personal branding, about your niche, about how you present yourself, the first person to convince is yourself. That's the first person to convince. And then you can take it out there. Right? And you know, it's even if your personal brand, if it's not absolutely clearly verbalized, even that is not an obstacle. As long as it's clear to you, it doesn't have to be necessarily clear to everyone else. Because they will feel the synergy, they will feel something, they're going to get curious and they're going to ask you. And that's exactly what you want. You want them to reach out and start a conversation. That's what it's all about. Any other questions or thoughts?
Yes, I have one, and I love this phrase that say, believe in ourselves first. I believe that one of the block roads for coaches is more about the marketing and sales. And I really appreciate your perspective about this. One of the question that I want and maybe sharing is about I coach teenagers and at the same time executives, and people is like saying, oh, of course I coach more executives. In this part, it's like I believe that what I bring to coaching is bringing to whatever, as you say, is bringing our whole selves to. It doesn't depends. One of my backgrounds is in a lot of different areas. So I have been in a think tank, in entrepreneur, in business, and something that keeps with today with what you are talking is about the active listening and what you bring to the table, or what is your presence. So saying that, how you can connect the presence with the niche and brand that you mentioned before.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you have to be aware of what it is. Right. And I actually tell well, first of all, I literally say, buy my book. But because, so maybe we should talk a little bit about what personal branding is. Right. So personal branding is, and by the way, no one else actually connected the dots the way that I connected them with my co-writer, who's also an MCC coach, Maureen Miller. And so, by the way, she's in Canada. I'm in the USA. We never met until after we wrote the book. So there was an adventure to everything I do. And so we realized, we started to actually, we both listened to Simon Sinek, right? And read his book and started say, okay, let's just create our own why. This is how this whole thing started. And we started working on that. And we got completely stuck. Because to create your why, you really need to have answers to lots of other things. And so we started to talk about identifying who you are, because it starts with understanding who you are. And then understanding your values, what drives you. And then we found out that the understanding of values is really different from what we needed in this application. So we understood that there's a lot of confusion between moral values and values that literally drive you to action. Like, for instance, if I'm an honest person, well, it's great, but it doesn't make me want to get up and do something. It's just the way I am. It's a very passive value. Unless someone is lying and then I get angry or whatever, right? You know, but it's not useful for personal branding. So we were beginning to take apart all of the values and finding values that actually move you forward. And isn't that a coaching spirit, right? To move forward. And so we combined, there's a way to understand your values that drive you and combine it with who you are, and then connect it to what you offer, and then to your philosophy of life, which is your why. It's just like, so there are a lot of components to creating your personal brand. And to and eventually you have to verbalize things literally in one sentence. And so, well, like for instance, let's look at some of the brands, right? If I say to you, just do it, what are you thinking about? We all know it. It's just a phrase.
Like,
Right? It's just a phrase, but everything is in that phrase. Like, I don't have to explain it, really. But it gets your curiosity because you don't know exactly what it means, but you kind of feel it. So this is what it's about, creating something that's so unique to you. And then if other people want to copy it, well, oh well. You know what I mean? But so this book creates step-by-step guide, coaching guide in how to put together your personal brand. I have to say that it took me many months, under a year, but few months to actually get to it. And I'm a pretty self-aware person. And still, it was difficult because you have to, you know, you learn something about yourself and then you have to simmer it down. You learn it and then you have to simmer it down. You learn it. So it's crafting, and it's carving it until you can commit to one phrase or a sentence that you feel, yeah, that's me. And then you can explain it more with how do you do it? How do you do that? You know, what does it mean? Just do it. What does it mean? And how do you go about it? And what do you sell? Right? And so, and that completes a full picture. That is a complete branding. It's complicated. And it takes time. That's why there are not that many good brands that you can remember. But let's say Apple computer. I'm using Apple computer right now. And many of us are using Apple computers and are drawn to Apple products, even though they're completely overpriced. But there is a symbol to Apple product ideas because they have a very strong branding. It's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still pretty strong. You know, there was a commercial a long time ago, like in 1986 or something like that, where you saw a march of like gray people dressed in gray, just like marching like robots in a robot-like way. And then there's a woman, and she takes hatchet, like a really big hatchet, and it's red. and then she breaks things. And that was such a visual, was such a strong visual. And that's how Apple came into the market. Like they came in, like we're new, everything all we're gonna break. And it's not going to be gray anymore. Everything is going to be different. But that's branding. Right? So we have to think about those things and to get excited to find that inner snowflake, to find that inner precious gem that you are identified. And only once you do, then you can verbalize it and invite others to see. And as a matter of fact, I mean, I work with lots of clients even on this topic. And I have to say that it's very interesting, or maybe even ironic, that once people find it, they feel very private about it, and they're very afraid to actually verbalize it publicly. They say, okay, well, here's what I am, but I can't. And they're like, literally, it's like, they'll put it on LinkedIn, put it on your profile. And it usually takes them another month to actually put it out there. And so, but these are the steps of natural development. When you were like starting to identify who you are, what drives you, and why you exist, and then what do you sell, right? But usually when we speak about marketing, regular marketers go the other way around. They say, okay, let's think, what do you want to sell that people want to buy? Right? And it kind of starts your process in the wrong direction, because you're going then to start guessing what people want versus identifying what you want to give, what's important to you, right? So one of the questions that I ask my clients is that, not a new question either, but a very useful question is, what would you do even for no pay? What would you really, really enjoy doing that that you would have, like you wouldn't stop doing even if no one paid you? What kind of client would you like to talk to? What kind of issues would you like to do? What excites you? What really excites you? What makes you you? What are your conversations generally? What do you want to talk about? Right. So this is kind of just to break the ice and to start understanding who you really are. And there are lots of exercises because my background is also in acting. So I have lots of exercises that help you analyze the character, in this case, it's you. You are the character that you're analyzing. And so I have a lot of fun exercises that help you do that too. And so, like, for instance, one exercise that I'd like to share with you, and maybe we could, I don't know if you have time for another breakout room. One exercise is if you were to...
5 minutes more.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, we have 6 minutes more.
Oh, 6 minutes more. Well, then maybe we don't have, but I'm going to share my screen then again, and I am going to, I'm going to get back into this slideshow thing. And we talked about this, and talk a little bit about all of these other things. And then maybe I could leave you with homework, right? Maybe I could leave you with that exercise that you could do on your own, since I mentioned it. So yeah, I just wanted you to see that, yeah, our school is one of the only schools that has all 3 levels, accredited by ICF, and team coaching course as well. Actually, we have level 1 starting tomorrow at 1 p.m. if anyone is interested, but I don't think that you guys are at level 1, and probably beyond that at this point. But so all of this is available to you. And this is the book. This is how it looks. And this is, if you put your phone next to it, it'll take you to Amazon. But if you're like me and not comfortable with that type of stuff, you can just go to Amazon and put the title, Me, My Brand, and Why, and hopefully it'll come up. And these are the links to me personally. So if you have additional question or want to get in touch with me, this is my cell. This is our email address. This is my LinkedIn here. No, this is my LinkedIn, I'm sorry. This is my LinkedIn. This is my WhatsApp. And the last one here on the right is the link to book a meeting with me. This is my calendar link. So, and in terms of LinkedIn, I would love for all of you to connect with me. And I'll look at it later today, and I'll absolutely be happy to accept all of your requests to connect. And so I'm going to leave this, and I'm going to give you an exercise for your homework. So I'd like you to think about an event that really, really made you happy, like really thrilled. I don't know, it could be maybe your wedding day or the day of your divorce or whatever. It could be, I don't know, when your child was born, or when you got your first kitten, or when you had your first bike ride, or when you were able to get some present that you wanted. I don't know, or made some discovery, or learned something interesting, whatever it is. Just really think about an event that made you really happy. And then try to relive this event and ask yourself, and look at yourself from outside in, and notice, how do you talk? How do you walk? What do you wear? How do you relate to people? What do you talk about? And what about that event like really, really makes you happy? What kind of character strengths does this event bring out in you? What kind of positive thoughts does this event invokes in you? So that gives you a hint towards possibly what drives you. It gives you a hint towards your strengths and maybe even values. So what do you value about yourself when you're looking at yourself from outside in? What do you value about other people? Usually it's a reflection on what you value about yourself too. What drives you? What makes you really passionate about this event? What's underneath all of that? So all of these are coaching questions, right? That's just an exploration kind of exercise that's going to give you a clue about who you are. And on that, I am going to stop the share. Oop. How do I stop the share? Oh, my stop the share. Here we go.
Thank you.
Thank everyone for participating and listening and asking questions. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Before we close, I want to acknowledge the delay at the start of our session. Thank you again for the patience and understanding. I also want to take a moment to truly highlight Marianna's powerful presentation. I think her reflection on niche, and we have one more person here, her reflection on niche brand and stepping into our identity as whole coaches were both grounded and inspiring. I especially appreciate how you expand on active listening, how you also connect with tools as branding, as a personal, and the niche, but as an holistic way of being that honors the clients. And I would say in a field humanity, you also offer a practical and empowered tools for sales that I believe coaches we really needed at this moment. So thank you for this amazing, and thank you for showing all of you for listening here. And I want to take some minutes so I can share a survey, if you can do it, about today presentation. Please, if you can, take your phone and really take a picture and say what was for you today presentation. Why it helped us to improve and continue creating meaningful space for our community. This is why it's important for us to have this.
You can share the link on the chat. That will be also helpful for some if they don't have a camera on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Gaston, for this. I'm going to do that. Okay. Well, I'm going to. I don't have. Well, saying that again, I appreciate everybody here, and especially Marianna. And now we have all the contact from Marianna. So everybody, thank you, Marianna, for this gift that you are giving us. So thank you, everyone. And well, I hope you see in the other amazing presentation of our MCC.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.